How you doing? Nice.
Doing good. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Birds of Bill's Mafia. Where else would you rather be?
Okay, we're good.
We're good to go?
We're good to go.
Okay, so we'll call to order. Welcome to the March 3rd, 2025 Tompkins County IDA Audit and Finance Committee meeting. We are here to hear from INSRO regarding draft financial statements for the 2024 year. So I'm going to turn it over to Evan and Rita. Thanks very much.
Sounds good. Thank you. I'm Evan Cleveland, audit partner with INSRO & Company CPAs, and with me is Rita King, supervisor. We're here to go over the results for the 2024 audit of Tompkins County IDA and Development Corporation. So we're going to work mostly off of the executive summary that should be right on the top. So page 1 of the executive summary is a snapshot of the audit reports that we issue, and then if we have any findings. So we're issuing an unmodified opinion on the financial statements and supplementary information. So that's otherwise known as a clean opinion. It's the best opinion that you can get. Means your assets, liabilities, revenues, expenses, net position are all fairly stated in all material respects. We also perform an audit on our government auditing standards. Sure, report on internal control over financial report. Also unmodified opinion, no findings associated with that letter. And so the bottom one, this is new this year. I mentioned to, I believe all of you or some of you that another one of our IDAs was dealing with the ABO, Authorities and Budget Office. And they mentioned that the regular financial statement audit wasn't sufficient to be called an audit of investments. So we need to issue this other report that just says that we are aware of no non-compliance with your investment policy or ABO's policies regarding investments or New York State. So it's just another letter at the back that added with.
Is that going to be at the back of the financial statements? I'm going to take a look
The
at.
very last
Yeah.
page.
Okay.
So this one will be short. You should imagine the comment letter has no comments in it.
Yay.
We're also required to communicate with those charged with governance at the conclusion of the audit. You do so through a specific letter. This just details the specific things that are in the letter. We had no comments of concern with qualitative aspects of accounting practices. So this year, there were no new standards to implement for the IDA itself. There are standards out there that others are implementing. It's just not the IDA. There were no difficulties in performing the audit, no corrected or uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management. We'll obtain a management representation letter. We've been provided with everything that formed the audit. Nothing would change the unmodified opinion we've rendered. There were no consultations with other independent accountants, no other audit findings or other matters. I'll turn it over to Rita to go over some of the numbers.
All right, so page 5 and 6, take a look at pie chart form of the revenue and expenses. So your revenue, exactly the same as last year, based on a percentage. 99% of your revenue comes from administrative fees. And then on page 6, this takes a look at the expenses.
What is the other?
Interest.
Okay.
We'll chat about that once we get to it. Something I want to point out to you guys.
So on the expenses, you have your contractual, professional, administrative, and then the investment and economic development. Last year, you did have a bad debt expense. So really the only change is taking out that bad debt expense this year and your contractual, professional, administrative increase.
What was the bad debt?
The arrowhead, the legal
Oh,
fees
okay,
towards the
sorry.
arrowhead.
Watch that out.
So starting on page 7, so this first set is the combined of the IDA and the Development Corp. We do a 5-year comparison. So your total assets did decrease about $352,000 from last year. And that's really, you had a decrease in revenue during the year and just a true result of operations. Your projects are down from last year. So you do have a new loan receivable on the books for $30,000. Originally, it was a $90,000. $30,000 is what you actually are owed now based on what they've actually expended.
Do we, I know we're gonna get to the footnotes, but do we have a footnote in there saying that we've committed another 60,000?
Yes, yep.
And does the footnote say that it's a forgivable loan?
I don't think so. I was gonna bring that up a little
It
bit.
is a forgivable loan. Like if they do the, I mean, that's the way our attorneys suggested we
So.
do it through the development corporation. There is a promissory note, but if they meet certain requirements, then you don't have to.
Okay.
The rationale behind that was that if a developer comes in that's going to actually do a project there, we would seek reimbursement.
I know we've talked about this in the past, cash and cash equivalents, $2.1 million. I mean, is there any way that we can get additional interest on that? I know it's through the county and maybe it's just too complex to do that, but it seems like we got a lot of cash sitting on there that we don't earn much on.
It's not for lack of trying. Lori and I have had some conversation back and forth. She was trying to figure out if, and Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, if the IDA could be in the county's investment funds. I think she got word that she could, and then had some additional questions about the fund that she was recommending it go into. I had additional questions. It's a fund that's run by a company outside of New York, and the funds are invested outside of New York, which I thought sort of flies in the face of investing local and buying local. So I had left it some additional questions with her, whether we could look at something that was more local.
What about New York class?
That was the New York class. The New York class is not invested in New York.
Really?
Yeah. And I personally was like, what? Yeah.
Located in Colorado.
That's for another committee.
It is.
So Lori and I
That committee.
have had,
Don't put me on that committee.
Lori and I have had some back and forth, and it's been sort of slow and few and far in between because there were other priorities, I think, particularly the county, but on our end, we will continue to look and see if there's something we can do with that
Okay, great.
in the shorter term.
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to discuss and bring up as just the large cash balances and $731 in interest income, and just looked at another IDA that we do, and they've got 600,000 in the bank and they earn about 20,000 in interest because they move into certificates of deposit often.
Right.
So if investing locally, could do that with Tompkins Trust Company.
But I think from Lori's perspective too, it has to be something that's pretty simple and longer term. Like we couldn't look at 30 and 90-day CDs because the county handles the fund balance. So like, I don't want to put anything onerous on Lori.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you want, I can respond too. Yes, so the New York class, Heather and I had discussed, and then I was looking into Muni Trust, which is a similar investment pool, but the IDA is not under the regulations that will allow for investing in that pool. So then we were talking about doing some CDs and perhaps treasuries with Tompkins Bank. And I believe we left it that it needed to have board approval. And
So the ball's in my court.
yeah, I mentioned it to Ina when she was over, I don't know, a couple months ago with Kurt.
My
Anyway,
apologies, I did not pick up on that.
oh, okay. Well,
Sorry, Lori.
we're going to follow up and find out what we needed to do to get approval, whether that was a resolution or just what we needed to do. So that's kind of where we're at. But as soon as we get that cleared up, we should be able to do some, at a minimum, CDs with Tompkins.
We were talking about Loki Brill and that, so.
Add to the agenda for next week.
Yeah, I think we could. Is it too late to put that on the agenda? That report? Okay.
Sure.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
At the bottom, there's no liability, so we'll just skip on. Page 8, you look at the top, it looks at the net position. So in total, your net position did decrease as the assets decrease. Your future commitments is made up of about 5 different categories. So you have amounts committed to IAD, to broadband, to Wayfinder, Block 14, and
That was the loan.
the loan, and then the Friends of Ithaca Farmers Market. And then the bottom of page 8, we look at the revenue. So the revenue decreased about 245,000. Again, it's in the administrative fees and it's based on the projects. So you're back down, but as if you look across the 5 years, it's always gone up and down. So page 9 takes a look at the expenses. So total expenses are down about $452,000. A lot of that is due to last year, you did a lot of equipment purchases for the Knickerbocker. And the investment and economic development there, you can see the change in the bad debt expense as well. That showed the $82,000 last year. So the excess of expenses over revenue is at $352,000. So the next, we're looking just at the IDA. So just solely for the IDA, total assets decreased about 286. And it's all in cash. And it's due to your expenses. Again, you have your net position for your future commitments, your unrestricted. Your revenues, you had just more projects last year. Ongoing. Then same expenses, this is where the bad debt shows, and this is really where you see the change in the Knickerbocker equipment with the investment. And then on page 13, we go on to the assets for the development corp. So this is where you see the loan for the 30,000 with downtown Ithaca that you are to receive. The net position for the development corp decreased about $67,000 in total. And then looking at the revenue, so you actually have administrative fee revenue this year for the development corp. And that is the processing amount for the Cayuga Medical Revenue Bond that they got during the year. And then your expenses increased for the development corp because of the investment in the Ithaca shared kitchen during the year.
Where is the remaining 60,000 on that loan?
So that lives within the future commitments on the previous page under net position DC. 185,000 in the future commitments.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 14.
Oh.
So at 185,000, the extra 60 lives.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
Any other questions on any of the numbers so far?
Of the future commitments of 185,000 is what?
It is.
60 and 125 for.
You have 6, yep,
Farmer's market.
for the farmer's market.
75.
Yep.
And the 60 for the remainder of the loan.
Correct.
And we've fulfilled our commitment on the kitchen. Paid that.
Yes. Kitchen was paid in 24.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the equipment's showing up this month. We'll see. Great. Yeah.
Next page just jumps into current and future accounting standards. So these are two that affected a lot of municipalities, PSV 100 and 101. So 100 is just if you have corrections of previous year's financial statements, then you need to add some more disclosures, which we didn't have any. So it didn't affect us. And then 101's compensated absences. So you don't have employees at the IDA, that didn't affect you. So anyone's earned and accrued sick and vacation time that they've earned and haven't taken yet. So they're sick bank, basically. And there are a couple coming up in future years, 102 certain risk disclosures. So this will add some things for the IDA specifically about concentrations and constraints on resources. So what I foresee is disclosures that most of your income is from fees and it's not guaranteed most of the time. It really fluctuates greatly. And then you're also concentrated to Tompkins County itself. So just a few additional disclosures next year that I would anticipate. 103 is the financial reporting model improvements. So the only thing that would affect this entity is the management's discussion and analysis. So right now it's written in auditor accounting lingo, and it's not the easiest for people to understand, apparently. So
Different vocabulary.
yeah. So it's to make improvements to that mostly. So your average financial statement user just picks this up and starts reading it and can understand a little bit more.
You need to be an attorney to actually be able to understand this crap, right?
I know, it's difficult.
I wouldn't say an attorney could understand. I can give you one example.
Yay.
So I'm going to skip past the letters because there's nothing really in either of those. Jump into some of the financial statement disclosures. And if I skip past one of the pages, if you want to look at it, you
Sure.
know.
I will let you know.
I was going to jump way ahead to page 12. There were no changes in note 1 from the accounting standard perspective. So all those really remain relatively the same. Just updates for years, things like that. Note 4 is,
I did have something on page 9.
okay.
You want me to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It just had to do with related parties.
Okay, yep.
You referenced the TCAD Foundation, which I don't really think needs to be referenced.
Okay,
So I would take out anything that references the foundation. Pretty much. And then, and you can tell me if you want this or not. So this is for 2024. So technically Kelly didn't become a co-administrative director until 25. So however you want to leave it.
probably.
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, that's what my note. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if you've had the foundation in there before.
I don't think so.
But it's not right because it is the TCAD Foundation. It's not never mind.
Right. We don't need to worry about it because our foundation doesn't.
yeah, doesn't have any interactions.
Correct.
Yeah, we'll
Correct.
remove that from page 9.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So just going to. Yeah, note 3 tax. Oh, let's get that out.
Correct. So
$2
so these numbers that are highlighted in yellow are from the 20.
Highlighted in our report for some reason.
All right, but the numbers for the pilot payments, sales tax and mortgage recording abatements are from 23. So once they get the final 24 schedule, these numbers will be
Note
adjusted.
3, that's still.
Yeah,
20.
that's all.
So we do need.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're on the bottom of page 11.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, they're all last year.
Once the schedule of projects is all done, then we'll update those.
It will be updated.
Find that IDAs, other IDAs you work with, do they disclose any, I mean, we're just disclosing kind of the abatements or the pilot payments that we've given. Is there any disclosure of like the benefits that have been received or realized on all this stuff, like over, I mean, we talk about, trying to market ourselves a little bit more. Is there something in there that we could put that would provide a little bit more information on the benefits that we've provided to Tompkins County
Absolutely.
over a 10-year period or whatever?
Or in
period of time?
the management's discussion and analysis, the factors bearing on the agency's future, that's really a great place to talk about all the exciting new developments that are coming in. And then also, yeah, you could add something to note 3 if you wanted to about all the benefits so far. Really, I think the more appropriate place would be the future factors.
So is it possible then, so I don't, they would go back indefinite, but maybe like say over the last 10 years, the projects that generated X amount of dollars additional tax revenue for the county or something like that? I mean,
Sure.
I think that would be great to put something in there to market ourselves.
I always ask, I won't ask the chair, but in previous years, I always say, does note 3 have to be tax abatements? Can it be tax
Incentives.
new tax dollars or something, like, can we turn it around?
We did.
No.
It's the standard is called tax abatements.
You're like, no, Heather, we can't do that.
Can't change that with the language, you change.
No, but I know you could say from like the last 10 years and just add up the total tax payments
From the pilots,
from the audits, from the pilots.
put that in the future bearing on the H.
Yep.
H4B.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you add a little bit more about things that are happening right now, and then you can just transition into, here's all these amazing things that we did before. A lot of places do that.
Word it
Maybe-
like that.
Just like that.
About kind of like the language there, Heather, about spinning it. I won't say spinning it, but putting a kind of a marketing aspect on it where it's really touting, hey, these projects that have been approved that probably would not have happened for the IDA approving these.
Given the current conversations that have been going on.
Yeah.
I mean, we could put some of our metrics about new housing units and affordable units and
Yeah.
megawatts of renewable energy.
So-
See what I can find.
But Gary Stewart used to say, if you don't toot your own horn, somebody's gonna kick it over and use it as a spittoon.
They're gonna kick us over and use this as a spittoon.
I'll also look at a couple of our other clients and see if I can get some examples of
That'd be great.
wording.
Yeah,
too.
I'm not sure if a lot of our IDAs really do a whole lot, but there's some cities and counties that,
They
that
really put
pages
their,
of future economic development that are coming in, and we can share what they say.
Given the discussions that we're having lately as board meetings, it'd be great if we put some stuff in there.
I will look at that.
Look what the auditor said.
And this is on it, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Evan, you were going through 13?
Page 12. Page 12. We're gonna find out something before that.
No, I know.
So note 4 is the deposits and investments, so you're required by state statutes to adhere to your investment policy as well as ABO requirements and New York State policy. And that requires you to have funds that are invested with FDIC insurance as well as collateral, and your total cash balances for each entity, the IDA and the local development corp, were 1.7 million and a little over 400,000. Note 5 is the ARNS, which was the allowance for doubtful accounts and bad debt item that Rita touched on, that was written off in 2024. So we did have that, it was completely written off, and that's why we asked about it
This morning.
earlier this morning, because I asked, was it? So
With Rebecca's email to you this morning.
Yeah. Note 6 is the equipment contract receivable with Knickerbocker. So that has the stipulations that they need to create full-time jobs in order to get the equipment basically for free from the IDA, but they need to bring 176 full-time jobs to its facility by 2026 or 7. Where is that?
5 years from 2023.
28.
2028.
Okay. Maybe I need to add that.
You want to add that in there?
Yeah. So that receivable remains doesn't until you meet that requirement, that jobs requirement, and then if they do, then you basically recognize this 71,000 as expense. They don't, then you'll collect it from them.
Right.
Note 7 is the loan receivable, so I need to add some info about this being a forgivable loan within this footnote specifically. So it's with the downtown Ithaca LDC, 90,000 total, that 30,000 was dispersed, and that's the balance based on project reporting for when they get funds from the IDA or. No dates to related party transactions with the IDA, so it's 460,000 to IAED for economic development and marketing services. And note 9 is all of the future commitments. So the future commitment to IAED. Think before I say IDA,
Yes.
to do a little pause here. And then the additional future commitments to the conference center, as well as the broadband project and the loan and all those items that we talked about earlier.
Conference center, what?
That's the wayfinding.
Wayfinding.
Attached
Oh,
it to the conference.
Can I ask about the wayfinding?
There had to be nexus to an existing project.
Got it. Okay.
Then next page, page 14 is schedule of indebtedness. So this is the IDAs, 2 bonds that are outstanding. So it's specific entities that you facilitated the bonds with, so you're not repeating because they're not your bonds.
The hospital recently?
Next page.
on that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask the same question.
And
So the next page is the Development Corporation. These are all the bonds for them. And I think I see at the top, we actually say Local Development Corporation. I think we need to get rid of local right there.
Yeah.
So
We just had one question, Ina and I, on this, on the Cuba Medical Center, the
Yep.
second one. You have paid during the fiscal year 196,222. That number's a little bit different than what John.
Yeah, it was, so John detailed in his email the principal amounts, and then he added $4,500 in fees. And so if you add the principal amounts and the 4,500 of fees, that's where you get the 196,222. I don't think the fee is.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so the number's not accurate.
So,
192.
yeah, whatever.
It was like 190
Minus one
and some change or something.
fees. Yeah, was a confusing bond, to say the least.
I have an administrative question. So, the bondholder filled out our form and submitted it to us. And then there was like this pile of emails back and forth with all this different information. If we get audited, I mean, should we have some note in the file that the form was filled out incorrectly and what the right
Yes,
number is?
yes.
Like, I mean, there should be a paper trail if something.
Yeah, I mean, in that email, I will keep with it.
Okay,
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna toss it. It's there as backup and such. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So next page is the schedule progress. So this has not been updated at all since prior year until we're all set with the schedule. So
We're very
I'm
close.
gonna skip right past that.
there was a sheet on the table.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
this is where it stands currently. So the items that have little highlights, those are the things that are still outstanding. So
And I've since updated it since they printed that out. So,
So don't look at it.
yeah, I mean, you can look at it.
Yeah,
It's
this-
okay.
this just gives you a general idea of the completion of the form. So
Yeah.
Okay.
This was as of like
85%.
last week.
Yeah, right. It's mostly job reporting and just people turning in their sales tax exemption forms to me so I can record it. It's pretty much what we're waiting for.
Okay.
As usual.
there's always one or two. It's
It is. People are busy.
business as usual for
Yeah.
Yeah.
saw. Final few pages are the report on internal control or financial reporting. And final page is that new report on the investments with section 2925(3)(f) of New York State Public Authority law. So this was the new report that meets the BO standard of the audit of investment. Just a few more procedures for us to do, not that difficult.
Okay.
So overall, the audit went really well. Appreciate Ina and Lori's efforts in
Lori.
getting us everything that we needed timely. And then as usual, we're waiting on some employment.
Yep.
So
Shouldn't be difficult to get.
financial report, it's going really well.
In terms of next steps, I know we need to get this approved at our next meeting, which is next Wednesday. So are you going to have an updated financial statement based on what we've just discussed today?
Yes.
Maybe the summary of projects may not be completed, but
We can,
So,
I can get.
Upload it.
We'll get this updated in the financial report and then we may have like whatever remaining's will be highlighted on the report as it hasn't been updated, but we'll get this version into the financial.
Yeah.
report.
So you'll bring an updated financial statement to us
Yeah.
next Wednesday.
So-
Will you be there for a quick presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So we'll hope to get a revised draft sent within the next few days with these updates that we need to make to the report, as well as getting the schedule in here. And then you guys can send it out to.
Yeah, so this may not make the actual agenda packet, but we'll make a note of it and then we will send it out as soon as we have it to the public. Such.
Okay. Next Wednesday.
2:00 at the legislative chamber. I'll send you a.
My favorite place where the camera's on you and you can
Oh,
see it.
yeah.
And
The additions that we've talked about. So if I can get a motion,
So moved.
all in favor? Opposed? Good to go.
All right.
Yay.
Thanks for all your work on this.
Okay,
And we'll say
thank you.
thanks again next.
You guys are great and whoever you have working with you, awesome.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Matt's finishing the pilots right now.
Do you want these or want me to shred them?
You can just shred that. And I'm going to.
Hi, Lori.
This.